Welcome to the Sweatbox Chatterbox podcast, and welcome to Lewes Van Poetsch. We've moved the camera a bit. Lewes is an ex-amateur boxer, ex-pro boxer. He's probably one of the best-known people in boxing, behind the scenes of boxing. Yeah, he's had 170 pro fights now.
Yeah.
But I mean, all the big names know you. I know that Hearns knows you, Warren knows you,
Yeah.
the Mayweathers know you.
Yeah.
Everyone knows you.
Somehow
Everyone knows you.
I left from a small town of Forest of Dean and I somehow got my name out there.
Yes, right. Yeah. So how did boxing start for you?
Total fluke, mate.
Yeah.
Total fluke. I was always pretty handy at sports. I always played a sport at some sort of level. Like I played rugby at a good level, played football at a good level. I was half decent at basketball at school, represented the county and the district in athletics. I played American football over the years. But I always had one eye on boxing. But my dad would never let me try boxing because when I was about 9 months old or whatever it was, I had an epileptic fit. So my dad was like, no way you're doing boxing. I always had one eye on boxing. And I really wanted to go down. And I almost talked into it when I was about 12, but then he went back on his decision and said no. And then I always sort of kept one eye on boxing. Always liked it. But a friend of mine called Chris Higgs, he was a decent amateur and had a few pro fights. He was fighting in the ABA final against Luke Campbell randomly. Back in, I reckon this must have been 2004. So he took a bus load of people up to Huddersfield, I think it was, to watch the fights. And the atmosphere just got me. I was like, I want some of this. And I was sat all day long, I was just watching the fights. And I was like, right, I don't care what my dad says, I'm going down to the boxing gym. I'm from Lydney Boxing Club. Yeah. That gym used to close in the amateur off season, which you'll know is like September till May, and it's from May through to
it's like the football season, the amateur.
Similar. Yeah. So I said, once that gym's back open, I'm going down there. My dad was like, look, you're getting a bit older now. You played rugby, you played football, you took a few knocks there, you've been fine, so it is what it is. I walked in there, and then I walked in there September 2004, or 2005 might have been, and then that was it. Never looked back, and then took to it quite bit naturally. So the gym in Lydney was ran by Brian Higgs.
I know
Chris's dad.
Yeah, I know Chris.
And I don't think I mind me saying this, but there wasn't a lot of time on his part for other fighters in the gym. There was other trainers there, which is fine because Chris was the golden boy representing England, all that sort of stuff. Won the ABAs. He was the golden goose in the gym. So a lot of the other fighters, like myself, people like Joe Wilcox and stuff at the time, used to get have to deal with the other trainers. But I got on really well with a guy called Dean Aiken, who we actually lost recently. And he sort of took me under his wing and just taught me, done a lot of one-on-one time with me, and I become his golden goose. Yeah. And after about 5 or 6 weeks, I'd picked up enough, and he was like, well, I'm going to get your card and I'm going to get you in the ring.
So it can be a problem, because if you join a gym when you're 15, 16, you're probably not going to be world champion.
Yeah.
Or even British champion.
Yeah.
It could be,
Yeah, because people...
You'd be starting when you're 10 or 11.
Yeah, it was earlier than that even.
Yeah, even earlier.
Yeah.
So how did your amateur career go?
Amateur career was all right. I had 36 fights. I won 20 of them. Most of the wins, most of the good wins I had were on like club shows. Yeah. I fought in the ABAs and the CYPs, but I'd always end up losing to the eventual finalist and or winner.
Right. Okay.
So that was always the case. But like the amateurs have changed now. Now it's the 10-point must scoring system. For those who don't know that, it's if fighter A wins that first round, fighter A gets 10 points and fighter B gets 9 points. Yeah. And that's the scoring system now. But back when I was an amateur boxer, it was touch scoring. Yeah. So that like at the higher level, you'd have computer scoring. It'd all be within 1 second of each other. They have to press a button that would score the point. But at the lower levels, I still had they had the little keypads, and all the scores would be totted up at the end. But my style was always more suited to the pros. I was always quite come forward, head down. I always loved Ricky. To paint a better picture, Ricky Hatton is my idol. So I always just emulate sort of stuff that I see of him and put that into practice in my amateurs. I wasn't a tall guy. I didn't have the rangy skills.
Yeah.
I wasn't the best schooled fighter, should we say. So, I used to lose out on some decisions on that front as well because of the computer scoring rather than the... But if it's 10-point most, I might be a better amateur nowadays.
You can go back.
No, those days are gone, mate.
Yeah. So when did you finish with amateur boxing? Or first of all, what was your best fight as an amateur boxer? Your toughest fight or your best fight?
I'll tell you a story, right? So I, like I said, I wasn't the best schooled, and I was never going to be like a ABA champion or Box for England, really. But Brian, he was the matchmaker for Lydney Gym.
Yes.
He brings me up one day. I must have been about 15. And I had a few fights. I'd boxed in the ABAs. I'd won the Western Counties and all that sort of stuff. And he rings me up and goes, mate, I've got this fight for you. You're not going to win, but it'd be a good experience for you. It'll show you where you're at. And I went, oh, who is it then? He goes, oh, it's a lad called Dudley O'Shaughnessy. He's from West Ham Gym.
West Ham.
Yeah, good gym. Right?
Right,
so I was like, so I knew that going in. I was like,
they're always the best gyms in the country.
Yeah, they're always in the ABA finals.
Always.
That gym. So he's from the West Ham. He's won pretty much everything as an amateur, to junior level, apart from like the Junior Olympics and stuff. Yeah. So you probably won't win, but it'd be a good experience for you. If you want to take it, take it. If you don't, then don't take it. But I think you're tough enough and you're resilient enough to go for it. So I said, yeah, let's go for it. And I went down there, give him how it was a 4-2s. It was back in this change now. Yeah, it's 4-2s I did. Yeah. First round I gave him hell for leather. I caught him with some lovely shots. And Brian, I come back to the corners. Brian was like, hang on, you might actually do all right here. But then as I started to tire, then 2, 3, and 4, the Dudley's class showed, and he did pick me apart. Yeah. It didn't stop me nothing. No. But that was it. Then I was like, well, I'm cut out for this game now. Yeah.
So had you started earlier?
Maybe.
If you started when you were 10, 8, 9, 10.
That's all. It's all shoulda, woulda, coulda, though, isn't it? So you can't look at them.
It is at boxing.
And yeah.
So when did you finish with amateur boxing?
My amateur, I had most of my amateur career was in the juniors because I went in the army when I was 16.
Right.
And when you join the army, which we'll probably get to later, if you're good at sports, they'll let you do that sport, but you need to serve your time first. So the saying is soldier first, boxer second, right? So, or whatever sport you're doing.
Yeah.
So mine was soldier first, boxer second. So I had to tick them out a load of boxes. Yeah. Be registered and do some army stuff and learn my trade before I could go and do the boxing
and be a tracksuit soldier.
Be a tracksuit soldier. Yeah. So that's what I did. I did that. So my boxing career was probably on ice for like about 3 or 4 years. So I had a couple of senior fights. Yeah. But I reckon only about 3, if that. Yeah. If that and
So which regiment did you join?
I joined the Rifles.
The Rifles,
yeah.
The Rifles are everywhere. It's a massive.
Yeah. I think
there's everywhere.
Yeah, the dynamics changed a little bit now, but there used to be 5 regular battalions.
Yeah, and 3 reserve.
2 reserves, but loads of units dotted around the country. Yeah. But I was in 2 Rifles. I started in 1 Rifles and then I transferred over to 2 over in Northern Ireland.
Yeah, right. Yeah. That's right. Yeah. Did you do any other tours?
I've done a tour of Afghanistan.
Oh, did you?
I went to Afghanistan. Honestly, I went in the winter, so it was actually quite.
Come out in the cold.
Oh man, it was freezing. Yeah. It was freezing out there. Yeah. And like you said, the Taliban generally tend to like to fight in the cold. Yeah. So it was quite a quiet tour, truth for being perfectly honest. Yeah. I had a few moments which were a bit hairy, but nothing.
It's better. It's boring, perhaps in real life.
Yeah. But like even in the summer tours, they say it's 90% boredom and 10% mayhem, and there was a lot of work in ground holding, peacekeeping, all that sort of stuff.
Yeah. How do you think boxing prepared you, and and your fitness prepared you for the army?
I was really fit when I was like 15, 16 because of boxing. So when I joined the army when I was 16, I was in incredible nick, a proper 6-pack, really fit. So like every time there was a fitness challenge, I just aced it. Yeah. It's a bit different now, but not as fit as I used to be. Yeah. But yeah, I got in my basic training. I got the best physical trainer award smashed all the running times.
Really?
Yeah. So I was good. It was good like that.
Brian would have been proud of you.
Mm,
All that training.
hopefully.
Yeah. Because I think the rifles have got the fastest marching pace, haven't they?
Yeah.
140 steps.
Yeah. So yeah, and your arm when you're marching in heavy drill, your arm comes up to your shoulder.
Yeah.
With light drill, so you only swing it that far. That's where you.
That's how they get the 140.
Yeah.
That's an amazing pace, isn't it?
Yeah, and you have to do the double march as well. So you
Yeah.
have to run at the same time, essentially. But I won't get up and do it.
Yeah. How did you get into pro boxing then?
Again, I've got Chris Higgs to thank for this one again.
Yeah.
Like I said, he was in the Lydney gym and he was a golden goose at the gym.
Yeah.
And I used to, as I started getting a bit better, I used to travel with him and go to shows and go to sparring. So when he turned pro, I was in and around the pro boxing outfit. So I had, because I was part of the gym, I used to get a wristband and be able to go in the changing rooms. So then I'm talking to pros, I'm talking to journeymen, I'm talking to managers. I'm sort of understanding how the game works prior to actually being involved in the sport. So when it was time for me to go pro, that was an easy step.
Mm-hmm. So what was your initial ambition when you entered the pros? Because it wasn't to be a journeyman, was it?
No, not necessarily. Not necessarily, but like I wasn't going in there going, I'm gonna be a world champion. But I also wasn't going in there thinking I'm gonna be a shithouse and not be any good at this.
Yeah.
I thought, but like when I look back on it, maybe I don't know this for a fact, but maybe if everything could have gone my way and I could have lived the life and I could have taken the right opportunities at the right time and stayed injury free, and again, it's all shoulda, woulda, coulda because it never happened. But if everything had gone that way, I might have been able to fight for a British title, maybe English level British title. I reckon that would have been my ceiling. But again, I don't think like that because it probably might never have happened.
Yeah. So you signed up pro. You've had a couple of fights. You're selling tickets.
Yeah.
How's your pro career going?
So I won my debut. Like I said, my boxing career was on ice a little bit. I'll backtrack a little bit.
Yeah.
So soldier first, boxer second. Boxing career was on ice for about 3 or 4 years. Done a little bit of sparring on the army camp, but nothing too much. Didn't really have the time for it. Went to Afghan, come back from Afghan, went to my regimental careers officer, Captain Mears, Vince Mears, that nice bloke. Lucky for me, he was a huge boxing fan. So I marched into his office, morning, sir, I'm Lewes Van Poetsch, blah, blah, blah. He goes, what can I do for you? So, right, sir. So, soldier first, boxer second. I'm a half decent amateur boxer. I wouldn't mind going on the army boxing team. He goes, mate, take your berry off, have a brew, make me one as well. So then he starts talking about boxing. We're talking about boxing. He's like, and then we get into it. So then he goes, all right, mate, I'll make a phone call. So he goes, all right, mate, got a lad here for my reg, my battalion over in Ballykinler. He wants to be on the army boxing team. So he's half decent, 36 and 20. So yeah, they said, can we get him a trial? We said, yeah, we can get him a trial, but it'll be next season. So I was like, with all due respect, sir, boxing's been on ice for the 3 or 4 years. I've probably been very ring rusty anyway. I'm going to wait another year. I can't, because I couldn't fight for my regiment because I was carded as an amateur, as a junior. So I couldn't fight. They only did novice championships or something. So I couldn't do that. So my only option was to either fight for Lydney, fight for a local boxing gym in Northern Ireland, which I didn't really want to do, or wait a year to go on the army boxing team trials, which was no guarantee I'll even go on anyway, because there's some decent,
of course they do.
decent lads on that one. So I said to him, how about this, sir? If I can get you a boxing professional contract, will you let me represent this regiment and this battalion as a pro? He said, oh, yeah, really? Can you do that? I said, yeah, there's a lad, Ross Birkinshaw's name was. He did a similar thing. He was in the Rifles and he represented the reg as a pro. So he goes, all right, man. He goes, book yourself a flight home. Go and sort that out. If you can get one on the contract thing on Monday, then we'll sort that out for you. So I swanned in there Monday morning. Yeah, so when I saw Keith Mayo up in Swindon, because like I said, Chris Higgs was managed by him or promoted by him, should I say. So he gave me a contract. I signed with him, and then he goes, "Yeah, sound, no problem." But to be said, "You're not going to be based over here anymore." So book yourself a ferry, get your car and everything back to the mainland. Put me on the recruiting team in Chepstow. My parents lived in Lydney, so I was lived with them. And I was basically just cutting around in tracksuit for the most part.
Is there a rifles base there somewhere?
Yeah, it used to be. They've moved now, but but it was Chepstow. Yeah,
I think I went there once.
Yeah,
with my old job.
Oh, did you? Yeah. So that's what. So I was representing the army as a pro. So did that for until my time ran out doing that, really.
Yeah. And so you're a pro now then?
Oh yeah, sorry.
What's happening then?
Sorry, yeah. So I'm a pro. First fight, Lydney, Gloucestershire Centre. So 120 tickets, and like I said a minute ago, where I was going before I went on that rant, I was been on ice for about 3 or 4 years, and I had the rustiest boxing debut ever. I was way off it. I was loading up, and I was missing, and getting tied up in clinches, and getting caught with silly shots. I nicked a win. If I'm being perfectly honest with you, probably a hometown decision from what I know now. Nicked it by a point. It was 6-2s for some reason. Maybe because I've been off for a while, they wanted me to ease into it. Probably nicked the win. So I was like, right, back to the drawing board. Terrible performance, but I got to win. That's the main thing. Go back to the gym, working hard, getting battered by Lee Selby and Cordina and Gary Butland in the gym over in Newport. Because Tony Borg trained me initially.
St. Joseph's
St.
Joseph's, yeah.
Yeah. And then got my second fight booked in. Thought, I'll tell you what, I'm going to get off. I was fighting at the same sort of weight, but I wanted to make it a bit different. So I did a different weight cut. A friend of mine, I sounds all big time, I had a nutritionist, but I don't mean it like that. A friend of mine was training to be a nutritionist, so he come on board and give me some advice and give me some strength and conditioning with me. So as far as I felt fine going into the fight, and then after a round, I had no energy.
Really?
I was completely spent. Yeah. So I thought I'd done the weight all right, and I was drinking all these like protein cocktails and whatnot. I just ran out of gas after about a round, and then the second round I got wobbled, and I just couldn't get going. And then the lad Jerome Sanders' name was, he was a journeyman, but only had a few. He was a sort of fell into the journeyman mold, not intentionally but he only had a few fights as a journeyman. He beat me, and then I was like, Jesus Christ! And then when I had my third fight, again, Chris Jenkinson. I don't know how I remember all this stuff.
Yeah.
Chris Jenkinson,
amazing memory.
Yeah, GL1 Legend Center again. Very, very lucky to nick that fight again. I thought Chris was no mug, you know. He'd won a Masters title by the time I boxed him. He was always kept himself in good nick, and he's one of the better journeymen on the scene when he was around. He was only a journeyman because of the ticket thing. Nicked it. I thought it should have been a draw. We get a rematch. Booked him down line. He went, don't worry about it. It is what it is. And then I had a phone call of Keith. He goes, "Oh, do you want to fight in the away corner over in London?" In fact, no, sorry. My third fight was that one. My third fight, I beat a lad called Scrapper Smith. My third fight, so I'm 2-1, and then the Chris Jenkinson fight was the fourth one. And then I had a few phone calls saying, "Oh, do you want to fight in the away corner?" So I was like, "Right, yeah, I'll do the away corner, but I'm not a journeyman." And then getting on the wrong end of a few decisions. So I've had about 6 or 7 fights now, and then the phone rings. "Do you want to fight Curtis Woodhouse on Sky?" So I was like, "Yeah, sound." So that was it. Then I said to myself, "If I win this fight, it's on their Matchroom show. I've got Eddie in there. I can get in his ear and have a go at it and try and get some sort of deal out of it. But if I lose, I'm probably going to end up going down the journeyman route." I might have a couple more fights after to see if I am going to be it. But I lost a fight fair and square, and my stock rose. I answered a lot of questions for myself because Curtis was he fought for Commonwealth title and lost it to Derry Matthews, so he fought at a decent level. And I held my own, and I knew I answered a lot of questions that for resilience. I knew I could be involved in professional boxing, so that's what I did. And then I think I had one more fight in the home corner. I think it was already booked in. Like 3 weeks after I was going to fight Woodhouse, and then that was a disaster. Head clash, called a punch, so I lost the fight by TKO. And then I was like, oh, this is ridiculous. This start of my boxing career has been a bit of a disaster. But also, in the meantime of it, my stock had risen from that Woodhouse fight, and I think I fought like a Ryan Thomas as well. He was half decent in somewhere in between that fight 1 and 8. And he made me answer a lot of questions about myself as well. I think he stopped me on a cut. And then I think it was my 10th. I remember this very vividly. My 10th fight, took a late notice call against a lad called Johnny Coyle over in York Hall, and I just went there. I thought I couldn't really give a monkeys about the result today. This is me now stepping into the journeyman mold. And I went, like, all I'm going to do tonight is just make sure I don't get hurt, and that's what I did. And then after the end of that fight, I went, I'm a journeyman now. And that was it. And that was it. And when the phone rang, I just went, look, because Tony Borg trained me. Keith Mayer managed me for the first 3 years of my career. Not managing, should I say. But Richard Farnan, who ended up being my manager and trainer and like one of my best mates within boxing and outside of boxing, really. He came on board on my third fight, but I was still with Tony. So if Tony couldn't come, Richard would come. And then Richard come and done my cuts for Woodhouse. That's when we got on real well. He ended up staying in my room because he wasn't involved with the show. He just needed the spare bed. That's when we got on real well. So then I think Tony might have done another fight or two after that, and then after the 10th one, I went, Rich, me and you are going to be a journeyman thing, because he'd only just started out his training career. So I said, look, I'll be your main guy. You don't have to train me, just come and do my corner. Because he lives in Swindon. I lived in Lydney, but now I live in Bristol.
But you're travelling all over anyway, both of you.
Yeah. Well, sometimes I'll go and see him to do some pads, but not very often.
Let's explain to people that might not know what a journeyman actually is, because there's lots of myths around it. But people, it's never really.
Journeyman, it's a phrase that gets sort of touted around and sort of used in the wrong context sometimes. But journeyman, the way I like to describe it is, if you imagine boxing as a timeline of events, and you've got AJ, Fury, all the other world champions at this end of that timeline, and someone who's never had a single fight in their life at this end of the timeline, to get to this end, you need to tick off a certain amount of boxes. So that first box is an area title, then it's an English title, then it's a British title, then it's a European, then it's a world title, right? But to be able to fight for that area title, you need to have shown the boxing board of control that you are competent and can fight. And can fight at a professional level. But to get to that point, you need to find someone. You need to have 5, 6, 10 fights against someone. So that's when the journeymen come into it. So that you're there as an educator, really. There's nothing saying you can't win the fight. But the more fights you win, it's the only business in the world where if you're good.
The phone's not going to ring.
It's the only business in the world, but if you're better at what you're doing, then the less weight you're going to get. So the onus is on you, educating that person, that kid. So another example. So I fought a lad from Glasgow, Glasgow-based promoter. He sells X amount of tickets to all his friends and family in Glasgow. They just send me up there, jump in the ring with him, not with selling a single ticket. So everyone's there to watch him. So you need to educate him whilst making him look good in front of his own town. Sometimes make him find them out. If they're not good enough, they need to be shown.
I mean, to me, a journeyman is like a master boxer. So
Yeah.
you've got to be a master of defence and
Yeah.
attack,
Yeah.
but you've got to be able to be in absolute control of what you're doing as well.
Yeah.
So I've seen you, because obviously I've seen you actually box.
Yeah.
And sometimes you dip down, oh, he's going to come up now, get a left, and you don't do it.
Yeah. Yeah.
I'm thinking, that kid's open now. He's going to
Yeah.
get knocked out. And I can see you holding back.
Yeah.
The public might not see that.
They might not see it.
They
Yeah.
might see that, but I can see there's an opening. And,
Yeah.
and you don't take it.
Yeah. Because, like I said, if I'm like I used to watch my fights back all the time. I used to come into your gym here,
Yeah.
and just stand on the treadmill and just run on the treadmill, watching last week's fight before the next, and seeing what I did right and what I did. Not like overanalyzing anything. I just used to I'd like to have a look and see, like you said.
Yeah.
I just go, because that
You
right hand was there if I wanted to throw it, but I didn't. But also, Journeymen have the luxury of not having to be in tip-top shape every time.
Yeah.
One, you can't be in tip-top shape.
You can
every
train
time.
yourself.
Yeah, but one, you can't be in tip-top shape every time because you're fighting every week. You can't do the strength and conditioning and the long runs, which fighters who have 8, 10, 12-week camps do, because you'll be sore and you'll be aching. And then you fight on a Saturday, and Sunday, Monday, you're sore and you're aching. So then Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday come around, then that's just concentrating on ticking over and keeping your weight off. But yeah. So like going back to what I was saying about like not throwing that shot when it's there. I'll be perfectly honest with you. There was sometimes I was in the ring. I shouldn't have been in the ring because I wasn't fit enough. Because I hadn't been in the gym. As well as journeymen make all right money, but it's not money you can live on really. You can if you really want to, but like still could be scraping the barrel. So I had a job as well. So I've done all sorts of jobs. Like quite a large chunk towards the end of my boxing career, I was a lift
I
installer.
remember,
Yeah. So I used to travel the country, hotel to hotel. Manchester to London to Leicester.
Crap food.
Yeah, literally having takeaways and hotel buffets and stuff like that. So I couldn't like have a regimented diet and all that sort of stuff. I had to sort of, pun intended, roll the punches. Yeah. So then there was some weeks I didn't go to the gym once, and then fight on a Saturday night, and that could roll over to months. And then Rich would be like, "You've been in the gym?" I'll be like, "Oh yeah, I've just been ticking over," but I hadn't been. But that's partly down to me not finding the energy and the time or the resources to do it, and partly because my job.
Yeah.
So
life on the road.
Yeah.
So when you were doing the pro boxing, did you prefer facing a puncher or a boxer?
Depend on the style, but generally, if I had to pick one, I'd say prefer to fight the punchers because 9 times out of 10 they wanted to get close, and that's when you can smother them or they smother themselves. Yeah. The guys I struggled with were the technical, good fighters. Yeah. They kept their distance and they were tall and long and rangy. And you're trying to get underneath their shots, and then you just find yourself on the end of a shot as you're coming out and stuff. They were the ones I struggled with. People like Lauren Richards and Zach Parker and Callum Simpson's a bit of a hybrid because he is a big fight, a good boxer, but he is a bit more of a fighter.
Yeah,
so he's a boxer puncher, if you like.
Yeah, you sometimes find that guys who are heavy-handed.
Yeah, they're looking for
it. They get a bit lazy. They don't develop the boxing skills because people tell them, "Oh, you're a hard puncher."
Yeah, especially in the pros.
I'll just use this backhand then.
Yeah,
and I won't go around.
Especially in the pros when they see people pro fighters getting knockouts on the telly. They think that they can do that as well. They're dying out of their power and they're looking for that big right hand, that big left hook. And a lot as well as this, a lot of fighters, once they get past like sort of novice level, they tend to fight in a rhythm. So chances are textbook boxing, if you throw that, that's going next. Throw that, that's going next. If you throw that, that's going next. So generally, fighters who have got some sort of experience and some sort of level, that's how they fight. So you can sort of read it a bit better. It's the guys who have come off the white collar scene and not really, they're the tough ones as well because and the amateurs. I aspired some of your amateurs fairly recently. I couldn't get out of the way of some of their shots because they're just coming from unorthodox angles. You know what I mean?
That's what we train for.
yeah, exactly.
Not to be predictable.
Yeah.
Set a rhythm. than break the rhythm.
Yeah, fair enough. Fair enough.
So who was your toughest bouts in the pros then?
I just touched on 3 of them there. I'd say, sorry, pardon me. Lerone Richards, he was probably my the cutest fighter that I boxed. I was in 5th gear going backwards, and he was just coasting and just picking me off. And then when he turned the screw, the ref was like, "Yeah, I've seen enough." No, I never got knocked out, by the way. I never got knocked out. I never got counted out. But I got stopped to my feet a few times, and that was one of those occasions. Zach Parker, luckily for me, I fought Zach Parker on his debut, so he wasn't that experienced, but he was still just a class above me. The shot selection he had a bit of mustard on the end of his shots as well. Stopped on a cut. I'm a bit miffed about that one, so I could have gone the distance, but Terry O'Connor saw the cut and he was like, "That's enough." That was in the last round as well. Callum Simpson, he's doing me some waves now. I wasn't really in best shape for that. I was one of the ones after COVID, but taking nothing away from Callum, he just showed that he was levels above me. But then, I fought Sam Egginton. I boxed him twice. First one, I didn't really want to be there. It was only like my 20th fight, and I couldn't really be bothered that night. And he stopped me in the second, stopped me on my feet. And then I fought him again a few years later. Took him 6. It was only like a favour job, like a move around job. But his corner was like, "Step on the gas a bit, Sam. Like Poochie's not the sort of fighter who's going to get knocked out by one shot. So if you catch him, you'll probably be able to ride it out. So make a bit more of a fight of it." The first couple of rounds, it was a bit obvious what was going on. Move around means like he's got a big fight down the line. He needs a win, and I'm not that bothered about winning. So we meet in the middle. Do you know what I mean? So it's not a choreographed fight per se. It's still a proper fight. But at the end of the day,
you both know the score.
Yeah, and it shouldn't. It doesn't really happen that often, but now and then. Not only at the sort of journeyman level does that happen. So yeah, we ended up having a good little ding dong, little 6-rounder. That was good fun. I thought Curtis Woodhouse, that was one of the fights where I needed to gut check, and I needed that gut check. That was like early on. Boxed him down the line as well again in a similar scenario. But like as I started like slowing down, when I realised that my time was coming to an end, I boxed a lad called Andre Dassilou, and he's still going. I think he's Southern Area champion now. First round, he was just sort of behind his jab, and he was quite sharp with his jab. So I was like, "Stay switched on." Stuff I've not seen before. And then he sort of turned the screw and went for the gear, and he was picking me off some lovely shots. And I was like, "Yeah, this kid's half decent." That's when I realised I was starting to slow down. But he's one to look out for. But he wasn't one of my toughest ones, but he was one of the ones, bro, that lives in the memory. Maybe because it was just towards the end of my career.
Obviously, 170 fights in your career, your pro career. That's really busy. That's getting up there with some of the all-time greats.
Yeah.
What's the most amount of fights you've had in 1 year?
I've done 33. Yeah, 33, I think. 33 fights. And it might not sound a lot, but the boxer border control rules, shall I say, mean you can fight on the 7th day, so you have 6 clear days between fights. So you can't fight Saturday night and then fight the following Friday. It has to be either Friday and Saturday or Saturday and
unless you've had a 2-round fight.
Yeah, unless
you stopped the other guy.
Yeah.
And it didn't get to the 2nd round bell.
Yeah.
That's in the rules.
Yeah, that's it, yeah. But
but that's very
well, I'm not to come with
that. For you,
no, I knocked one guy out in the first round, tried to get a fight the following day, but didn't.
Yeah, I did see one of your fights, and you did stop you did stop a guy. I remember thinking, you weren't a journeyman.
No, I
thought you took the mickey a bit, or perhaps he took the mickey. And
maybe. Which one was it? Do you remember?
Yeah, it's up in the Midlands somewhere.
John Lynch.
Yeah. I thought you were, but so, you need a few wins.
Yeah,
otherwise the board.
So you can lose. You can keep losing, right? Yeah, and the rule book, like you just mentioned, the rule book says after 4 fights, the boxer board control reserves the license, the rights to withdraw your license and call you in for a meeting and see why you keep losing these fights. Yeah. But the way around that is make the fights competitive, win a couple of rounds, and then every now and then you nick a win, and then it sort of resets itself, and then you can go from there. So that's what happens. And as well as that, there's a little bit of an unwritten rule in the pros with the journeyman. And it's if like you may or may not be good enough, you don't really know that yet.
Yeah.
Don't come out swinging and try and knock the journeyman out, because then he's got to fight the following week, and it only takes one shot, like a loose cuffing shot or something to cut you, and then you're out for a month. So don't do that. The chances are they'll let you just coast it on point. If you come out swinging and try and knock them out and start sitting down, you're punching and digging, then if the journeyman thinks that you're not up to it, they'll throw the shots back, and then before you know, you've got a proper fight in your hands. So that's what happened a few times on that one.
I mean, how much of it was entertaining to you? Because you're always quite a jovial character.
Yeah.
I've seen you.
Yeah.
And you've made a bit of a show of it. So was the entertainment part important to you?
Yeah. So even going back to my debut, like, because I was representing the army on my debut, they made a whole bit of a thing for me. Our regimental instruments were the bugles.
Yeah.
So they had the bugle come out, and I dressed up in my regimental outfit. And then, so that was always a thing for me at the start. And then I was sort of like just normal. And then I adopted I've got no hair for people that have not seen. I've got no hat, so
that's two of us.
So I had a big mustache. I curled it up, and then got some old school shorts, and some old school boots, and a robe and a flat cap. And then I'd do the Queensbury Rules pose with the announcement. I walked into like an old quirky tune. So that's when I started making a bit of a name for myself in terms of like being an entertainer. So that's what it's all about. Like I mentioned earlier. Like I mentioned earlier, when I'm fighting a lad in Manchester, Bolton, Glasgow, Edinburgh, like the lad from his hometown has sold all the tickets. I haven't sold a single one. So people aren't there to watch me fight. So if I can make people leave that venue going, oh, do you remember that kid that
guy
come dressed up in the shorts and so then I've done that for him. I ended up doing that. I was only meant to do that for a month because it was November. Sorry, because it was November, so I was going to do it in November and then theme myself for a month. But that ended up carrying over for about 4 or 5 years ago. It became my identity. Then I stopped doing it, and the only reason I stopped doing it is because the mustache, when it wasn't waxed, it was all loose and it would come down here. It was waking me up in the middle of the night, tickling my nose. So I stopped doing that, and then I was just normal again, just coming to the ring with having no t-shirt or no t-shirt, and then I started theming my ring walks. I'd find a song which everyone knew, or shall I say, I'd find a theme which everyone would like, which wasn't too niche. I'd done Only Fools and Horses. So me and Richard.
You love that, don't you?
Yeah, I love it. Yeah.
You love it.
Rich dressed up as Rodney, I dressed up as Delboy, and we ring waltzed into Only Fools and Horses.
Yeah.
I used to be half decent on a skateboard, so I come into a song, Avril Lavigne, Skater Boy, dressed up as a skateboarder, took my skateboard into the ring, done an ollie in the ring. Surfing USA, dressed up as a surfer. And then that gained a lot more traction. So that was the entertainment side, because like I said, people aren't there to watch me. So if I can bring something different into that journeyman role, that's what I did.
Yeah, it might bring people back to boxing as well.
Yeah, maybe.
Because some journeymen, they go in there and you're thinking, oh, guy's from Romania, he's only here for the money, he's not really interested.
Yeah.
And he's crap at his job as well.
Yeah.
So also, I remember before your last fight, you had an exit plan as well for boxing, didn't you? You were going to stay in boxing, but not fight. Can you tell people what you've done?
So I mentioned it. So I'm actually a referee. So I'm in a trainee referee at the moment. Yeah. Just on the way to my qualification, I've hopefully got another 6 months minimum, maybe 12 months left of being a trainee. Then hopefully I'll get my qualification. Touch wood. But I mentioned it to some of the referees when I was still fighting that I wouldn't mind getting into it. So when they was doing an intake, they heard I was sort of coming towards the end and I was going to retire. So when they was doing an intake of new referees, they put me on the application process whilst I was still fighting. So when I retired, I was already ready to go on that. But I never wanted to be a manager or a trainer or a matchmaker because your phone's going all day, every day. have you got a fighter here? Do you know someone? I haven't got time for that. And trainers, like, as I mentioned earlier, I didn't spend that much time in the gym when I was a fighter. So I don't want to retire and then spend more time in the gym
than you did when you were
when I was fighting with other fighters. I wouldn't have the time for that. So I was like, how can I stay in boxing? That's when the light bulb was like, I'll definitely go down the refereeing route. I still get the scratch the itch of going to the boxing shows. I get the best seat in the house when I'm not in the ring. And eventually I'll be that man in the middle, hopefully, refereeing these big fights on these big nights.
So we will see you with World Championships.
Yeah.
In the ring,
in the man in the middle.
But not with shorts.
yeah, exactly. So, yeah, I'm enjoying it. It's a long old process. Yeah. I'm in the second stage of the trainee phase at the moment. Third phase is me getting promoted to.
It take about 10 years, can't it? You know, to get your A star.
Take about 10 years to get A star, maybe even more. But there's no, as far as I'm aware, anyway, there's no like one size fits all on how a referee progresses. It's very much jurisdictional from the head sheds, i.e., Marcus McDonald and Kieran McCann, etc., who make those decisions of when I should be put forward for promotion.
So one last question. So I've got to go and do a class now.
Yeah.
Is how would you like to be remembered in boxing?
I think you touched on it earlier. Just jovial, bit of fun. I never took myself too seriously. I took boxing as seriously as it needed to be taken. Yeah. But I didn't take it that serious in terms of, but I don't know. I like to be remembered just a bit, one of the fun guys of the sport, and someone who loved his job. Yeah.
Poochie, thanks for coming in.
Awesome, mate.
Thanks for being here.
Yeah, cheers.
It's been great.
Cheers. Thanks for having me on.